The rhythmic hum of the train filled the cabin as Naomi Okoro stared through the wide glass window. Seoul's skyline shimmered behind her, fading into the horizon like a dream dissolving in daylight. The further the train carried her toward Suwon, the easier it was to breathe, yet the weight in her chest refused to lift. "Mom, what's wrong?" The small voice came from the seat beside her, soft, concerned, full of innocence. Naomi turned to her daughter. Little Zara blinked up at her with round, searching eyes. Naomi managed a tired smile and brushed the girl's cheek with her thumb. "Nothing, pumpkin. I'm just lost in thought. Close your eyes. You need rest." Zara gave a tiny nod, snuggled closer, and soon drifted off, her fingers still wrapped around her mother's sleeve. Naomi leaned back, eyes on the darkness sliding past outside. The reflection in the window showed a woman in her early 30s who looked calm, but only on the surface. Beneath that calm lay 7 years of unspoken pain. Her thoughts wandered back to Boston, to a time when life felt lighter, when the world was still full of some days. That was where she met him, Han Jun-seo. He had this quiet magnetism that didn't announce itself but lingered, steady and sure. She'd noticed him long before he ever spoke to her, the Korean guy who always occupied the same corner of the university library, pretending to study but constantly sneaking glances in her direction. Weeks went by with silent exchanges, stolen looks and awkward smiles that said everything words didn't dare to. Then one chilly afternoon, he finally approached. "Mind if I sit here?" he asked, gesturing toward the seat across from her. "The view looks better from this side." She chuckled. "You mean the textbooks look better from this side?" He grinned, unashamed. "Maybe both." That was how it began, with laughter that filled the quiet spaces between them. What started as casual study sessions turned into long walks under Boston's pale streetlights. He told her about Seoul, about growing up under the heavy crown of family expectations. She told him about Lagos, about her dreams, her stubborn parents, and how she wanted to build a life defined by her own choices. By the time snow blanketed the campus lawns, they were inseparable. One night, as the first snowflakes fell around them, Jun-seo stopped walking. His breath clouded in the air. "I think," he began softly, "you've already taken up all the space in my head." Naomi blinked, half laughing. "Are you trying to say you like me, Mr. Han?" He exhaled, nervous but sincere. "No, I'm saying I'm in love with you." Her heart stumbled. "Then it's mutual." From that night on, they were each other's gravity. But happiness, as Naomi would learn, always draws the storm. Months later, when she took him home to meet her parents, she could already sense the unease. Her father, a stoic Nigerian businessman, studied Jun-seo with polite distance. Her mother tried to smile but never met his eyes. After dinner, her father spoke first. "Naomi, I raised you to know that love isn't blind. The world won't see him the way you do." Her mother's voice followed, gentle but firm. "He's kind, yes. But he isn't one of us, darling. And life will make you pay for that." Naomi left the house that night with tears freezing on her cheeks. When she told Jun-seo, he held her hand and said, "Then let's try my family. They'll understand." Naomi hesitated. "Are you sure?" He smiled. "They'll have to." But they didn't. The park residence was a palace of glass and marble, and the cold wasn't just from the architecture. His mother opened the door, her smile practiced but thin. "Oh," she said, her eyes skimming over Naomi like a passing shadow. "You didn't mention a guest." Inside, the dinner was quiet. Too quiet. The only person who seemed remotely kind was his grandmother, a fragile woman with soft, thoughtful eyes. She asked Naomi gentle questions and patted her hand as if to say, "You're welcome here, even if they can't show it." When dinner was served, there was no seat for Naomi. She stood awkwardly until Jun-seo pulled a chair from another room himself. "This is Naomi," he said, his tone firm. "She's with me." His father's reply was smooth, almost dismissive. "Ah, I see. Well, next time, let us know if you plan to bring company." Naomi tried to smile, but humiliation pressed on her chest. The conversation turned cruel in its civility. His father spoke of arranged introductions, of alliances between wealthy families, all while Junseo sat beside Naomi, his jaw tight. When he finally rose from his seat, his voice trembled with controlled rage. If being your son means watching you insult the woman I love, then I'd rather be no one's heir. His mother gasped. You would give up everything for her? He met her eyes. I already have everything I need. That night, they walked out of the Park mansion hand in hand, defiant, terrified, but together. In their hotel room, silence lay heavy between them. I'm sorry, he said finally. I didn't realize they'd go that far. Naomi shook her head. It's not your fault. Maybe. Maybe this is the universe telling us to slow down. His face fell. You want to end it? No, she said quickly. I just need to breathe. He cupped her face gently. Take all the time you need. Just don't forget me in the space between breaths. She smiled through tears. That's impossible. And yet time had its own cruel rhythm. They reunited after graduation, and every wall between them fell. He proposed under the summer rain in a small Boston street, and she said yes before he could finish the question. Their wedding was simple, just close friends, no parents. The happiness that followed felt fragile but real. For a while, they built a small world of their own. Mornings with shared laughter, nights filled with whispered dreams. But dreams are delicate things. Naomi's long-awaited job offer was rescinded after her company's acquisition. Months of searching yielded rejection after rejection. She began to doubt herself. The bright, ambitious girl from Lagos now stared at a ceiling every night, wondering where she'd gone wrong. Junseo tried to help, writing her resumes, sending applications late into the night, but soon he was swallowed by his own crisis. His company was collapsing under financial strain. He survived the layoffs, but barely. The price was brutal hours. He left before sunrise and returned when the city slept. Their apartment grew quiet. Two people living together, yet worlds apart. The tension simmered until even the smallest things, unwashed dishes, missed calls, became landmines. Then came the phone call. Naomi was folding laundry when she heard him answer. Within seconds, his tone changed. The voice on the other end offered condolences. His grandmother had passed away. His face drained of color. They didn't even tell me, he whispered. Naomi's heart broke at the sound. She walked over and held him, but he didn't respond. His grief was too deep for touch. The next day, he told her he was going home for the funeral. Come with me, he pleaded. Please. Naomi shook her head. It's better if you go alone. You need to face them, without me there to make it harder. He hesitated, then pulled her close and whispered against her hair. I'll be back before you know it. We'll fix this. I promise. She nodded. Though something inside her already knew, promises couldn't fix what was breaking. The morning he left, she stood by the window, watching his figure disappear down the street. 3 days later, the apartment was packed into boxes. On the kitchen counter lay an envelope, her handwriting trembling across the paper. Forgive me, I'm setting you free. When the door closed behind her, Naomi didn't look back. Hours later, the train hissed to a halt at Suwon station, snapping her out of the memory. Zara, she said gently, touching her daughter's shoulder. We're here, darling. The little girl stirred and smiled when she saw the man waiting at the gate. Uncle Daniel, she squealed, jumping up and down. Naomi followed her gaze. Daniel Lee, her boss, and the closest thing she had to a true friend in years, was waving with his easy smile. He crouched to Zara's level and grinned. You've gotten taller, haven't you? Zara laughed proudly. Mom says I'm growing faster than bamboo. Daniel chuckled, glancing up at Naomi. She's not wrong. You both look exhausted. Come on, the car's outside? Naomi smiled faintly. Daniel, you didn't have to come all this way. I did, he said simply. You're our best asset, and I couldn't risk you getting lost before the conference. He winked. Also, I upgraded your hotel. Bigger room, better view, daycare for Zara. You deserve a little comfort. Naomi's eyes softened. Thank you, truly. Don't thank me yet, he teased. Wait till you see the view. He wasn't exaggerating. The hotel overlooked the shimmering coastline, a place where the sea looked like spilled silver under the night sky. Zara pressed her tiny palms to the glass, squealing with wonder. For the first time in weeks, Naomi allowed herself to exhale, but fate had never been kind enough to let peace linger. 2 days later, she and Daniel entered the pristine offices of TNC Global, ready for their partnership meeting. The receptionist smiled brightly. "Mr. Lee, Miss Okoro, the founder will join you soon." Naomi frowned slightly. "The founder? I thought Mr. Lim owned the company." Before Daniel could answer, the door opened, and the past walked in. Tall, composed, familiar. Han Jun Seo. Naomi froze. The air shifted as his eyes found hers. For a second, she saw every year they'd lost flicker behind his gaze, and then it vanished, replaced by a mask of formality. "Mr. Han," the CEO announced, "our international partners are here." Jun Seo's voice was calm, distant. "Welcome to TNC." Daniel extended a hand, unaware of the storm brewing between them. "Pleasure to finally meet you, Mr. Han. I've heard a lot about your work." Jun Seo's lips curved faintly. "Likewise." His gaze flicked to Naomi, unflinching. "Miss Okoro, it's unexpected to see you here." Naomi managed to steady her voice. "Life has a strange sense of humor, doesn't it?" The rest of the meeting passed like smoke, unreal and suffocating. Words floated around her, but she barely heard them. Every breath felt like standing in the ruins of a life she'd once lived. When it ended, Daniel leaned toward her. "You look pale. Are you okay?" She forced a small nod. "Just tired." But as they left the building, she felt his gaze on her. Sharp, unreadable. And for the first time in years, Naomi Okoro realized that the past she'd buried was alive and staring right back at her. That night, Naomi could barely sleep. The air conditioning hummed. The city lights flickered outside her hotel window, but her thoughts wouldn't stop. Every moment from that meeting replayed like a movie she hadn't asked to watch. Jun Seo's voice, his calm eyes, the slight tremor in his jaw when he saw her. She pressed her palm against her chest, as if to steady her heart. After all these years, why now? She tried to reason with herself. This was work, nothing more. They were professionals, adults, strangers who happened to share a history. But the truth whispered in her heart refused to agree. She turned when she heard a soft knock on the adjoining door. "Mom?" Zara's sleepy face peeked in. "You're still awake." Naomi smiled weakly. "Just thinking too much." "Go back to bed," baby Zara patted over and hugged her. "You always think too much." Naomi laughed, kissed her daughter's forehead, and tucked her back into bed. But when she finally lay down herself, she still couldn't quiet the storm inside. The next morning, Daniel was waiting in the lobby with coffee and his usual charm. "Big day," he said cheerfully. "TNC's final presentation before we close the deal." Naomi forced a smile. "Let's make it count." They arrived at TNC headquarters again, but this time, Naomi felt her heartbeat quicken with every step. When they entered the glass conference room, Jun Seo was already there, discussing figures with a group of executives. He looked every bit the man he had always been destined to become. Confident, precise, untouchable. And yet, when his eyes met hers, a flicker of something real, something raw, crossed his face before he hid it again. The meeting began, but Naomi's focus fractured. Every time he spoke, she was dragged back to another life, to the sound of his laughter, the warmth of his hands, the way he'd whispered her name like a prayer. When it was finally over, the other executives filed out. She gathered her files, trying to leave unnoticed, when his voice stopped her. "Miss Okoro." She froze. "Could we talk?" Alone, Daniel hesitated. "Naomi?" She exhaled. "It's fine, Daniel." "Go ahead. I'll join you later." The door closed behind him, leaving silence, sharp and unbearable. For a few seconds, neither of them spoke. Then Jun Seo stepped closer, his voice low and controlled. "So, this is where you disappeared to." Naomi steadied herself. "I didn't disappear. I left, without a word, without giving me a chance to fight for you." His tone cracked for the first time. Do you have any idea what that did to me? She swallowed hard. I know you suffered, but I thought. You thought? He laughed bitterly. You thought leaving was kindness? Her eyes glistened. I thought I was sparing you. Your father disowned you because of me. You lost everything, Junseo. He took another step forward, pain flashing across his features. I didn't lose everything, Naomi. I lost you. And that was the only thing that ever mattered. The words hit her like a wave. She wanted to speak, to explain, but all that came out was a whisper. It wasn't supposed to be forever. He stared at her, his voice trembling now. Then why didn't you come back? She lowered her gaze, her voice breaking. Because I found out I was pregnant. Silence. Junseo froze, the color draining from his face. Pregnant? She nodded slowly, tears spilling down her cheeks. I didn't want to trap you in a life full of resentment. You'd already lost your family for me. I couldn't let you lose your future too. His hands clenched at his sides. You decided that alone? Naomi's sob caught in her throat. I was terrified. I thought I was protecting you. He stared at her for a long moment, a storm of disbelief, anger, heartbreak swirling behind his eyes. Then he spoke, his voice barely audible. And what about protecting me from this? From the years I spent thinking you were gone, from mourning someone who was still alive? Her tears fell faster. I don't have an answer that can make it right. He stepped closer until the distance between them vanished. His breath trembled as he spoke. Do you know what I hated most, Naomi? Not that you left, but that you didn't trust me to stay. The words shattered her. I'm sorry, she whispered. I'm so sorry. His expression softened, but his voice remained steady. There's someone I want to meet. She blinked. Who? His gaze locked onto hers. Our daughter. Later that afternoon, Naomi and Zara went for a walk along the park near the hotel. The trees swayed gently, and the scent of sea breeze hung in the air. Zara ran ahead, chasing pigeons and laughing, her joy so pure it hurt to watch. Naomi smiled faintly, her mind heavy. Then she froze when she heard a voice behind her. Zara, be careful. The voice wasn't hers. She turned, and there he was. Junseo stood a few feet away, his expression torn between disbelief and awe as he watched Zara dart across the grass. Zara, noticing him, ran straight into him by accident. He caught her instinctively before she fell. I'm sorry, sir, she gasped. He crouched down, smiling gently. It's okay. Did you hurt yourself? She shook her head. No, I was chasing the birds. They're faster than they look, aren't they? She giggled, and for the briefest second, he forgot how to breathe. That smile, that same dimple on her left cheek. It was like seeing a memory reborn. Then Naomi's voice cut through the air. Zara. Junseo turned. Their eyes met, and everything inside both of them went still. Zara looked between them, curious. Mom, do you know this man? Naomi's lips parted, but no sound came out. Daniel's voice suddenly interrupted from behind her. Mr. Han, what a surprise. Junseo's expression hardened slightly. Mr. Lee. Daniel walked up beside Naomi protectively. Naomi, shall we go? But Junseo's voice came again, quiet but unyielding. She's my child, isn't she? Naomi's throat closed. The world seemed to tilt. Daniel's head snapped toward her in shock, but she didn't move, didn't speak. Finally, she nodded, barely. Yes. Junseo staggered back a step, the breath ripped out of him. For a moment, he couldn't even form words. All this time, his voice broke. You kept my daughter from me? Naomi's tears spilled freely. I thought I was doing what was best. You were broken, Junseo. Your family had turned on you. I couldn't add another burden. He shook his head slowly, pain twisting his features. You didn't save me, Naomi. You shattered me. His voice rose despite himself. Do you know how many nights I prayed you'd walk through the door? How many letters I wrote before realizing you weren't coming back? Naomi's sob cracked the air. You think it was easy for me? Every day I wanted to tell you. Every single day. Their argument silenced the park around them. Zara looked confused, clutching Daniel's hand. Mommy, she whispered. Naomi quickly composed herself, wiping her face. Sweetheart, go with Uncle Daniel for a bit. Mommy just needs to talk. Daniel hesitated. Naomi? She nodded, her voice steadying. Please. He exhaled, took Zara's hand, and led her toward the cafe at the corner. Now, only the two of them remained. Junseo's eyes glistened as he spoke again, this time more softly. You took away the chance to be a father, to hold her, to hear her first word. Naomi's voice trembled. I know, and I'll never forgive myself for that. He closed the distance between them in 2 steps and stopped inches away. I could hate you for this, he whispered, but I don't. Because even now, I still love you. Her breath caught. Don't say that. I have to, he said, his tone breaking, because it's the only truth that hasn't changed. She covered her mouth, tears streaming. After everything? Yes, he said simply, after everything. He reached up and brushed a tear from her cheek, his touch light, reverent. Let me be part of her life, Naomi. Let me know her. Please. Naomi nodded, voice barely audible. You deserve that. She deserves that. He smiled faintly through his pain. And maybe one day we'll find a way to forgive each other. She whispered, maybe. The next evening, he came to their hotel. When Naomi opened the door, Zara peeked from behind her, shy but curious. Junseo knelt down slowly, heart in his throat. Hi, he said gently. I'm a friend of your mom's. Zara studied him, then smiled. You talk like her. He chuckled softly. Maybe because we used to talk a lot. Naomi's eyes filled again, but she stepped aside, letting him in. They spent the afternoon together, building puzzles, sharing stories, laughter echoing through the suite like sunlight after years of rain. That night, when Zara begged for a bedtime story, Junseo looked at Naomi for permission. She hesitated, then nodded. He sat beside them and began reading in a calm, soothing voice. Halfway through, Zara fell asleep, her small hand resting on his. Naomi watched silently as his expression softened, a mixture of awe and grief and gratitude. When the story ended, she whispered, She likes you. He smiled faintly. I like her too. They both stayed there a while, neither willing to break the silence. Finally, Naomi murmured, I didn't expect you to forgive me. He looked at her, his eyes steady. I'm not sure forgiveness is the right word, but I still believe in what we had. Her voice wavered. You can't mean that. He exhaled, a faint smile tugging at his lips. Do you know what TNC stands for? She blinked. The company? He nodded. Taina Corporation. Tae from my Korean name, Nae from yours. I built it after you left, to remind myself that even if you were gone, you were still part of my story. Naomi's breath hitched. You named your company after us. He nodded slowly, because I never stopped believing that someday, somehow, we'd find each other again. Her tears returned, unstoppable now. Junseo. He stepped closer, voice barely above a whisper. Tell me the truth, Naomi. Do you still love me? She hesitated, trembling. I never stopped. I just forgot how to believe it could still matter. He smiled, the same boyish smile she'd fallen in love with years ago. Then let's start over. He cupped her face in his hands and kissed her, softly at first, then deeper, until all the years apart melted into one breath. When they finally pulled apart, Naomi laughed through her tears. You realize our daughter will tease us forever if she finds out about this. Let her, he whispered, resting his forehead against hers. She deserves parents who love loudly. Later that night, as Zara slept peacefully between them, Naomi whispered, You think she'll ever forgive us? Junseo smiled, brushing a strand of hair from Zara's face. Children are born forgiving. It's the adults who take longer, Naomi exhaled, a soft laugh escaping her. You've changed. He shook his head gently. No, I just finally learned what's worth fighting for. A week later, they stood at the airport, ready to return to Seoul together. This time, not as strangers, but as a family finding its way back. As the plane taxied, Naomi looked out the window, her fingers entwined with his. Jun Seo, she whispered. Yes? She smiled faintly. You still owe me a proper honeymoon. He laughed, that deep, familiar sound that had once been her favorite thing in the world. Then I guess we'll start making up for lost time. Zara stirred sleepily in her seat beside them and mumbled, Mommy, Daddy, don't talk too loud. They both froze, then smiled at each other, tears glimmering in their eyes. The plane lifted off, carrying them into a sky that finally felt like home. If you were Naomi, would you have walked away for love's sake, or stayed and fought for it no matter the cost? Tell us what you think in the comments below, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. There are more heart-touching stories like this waiting just for you.